Pi network is facing one of the most dangerous myths in its history. This idea of a dual-value Pi and the infamous GCV dream of $314,159 per coin. Some people still believe mined Pi and exchange Pi are worth different amounts, but here's the shocking truth. This fantasy is hurting adoption, scaring merchants, and slowing down Pi's real progress. Today, I'll expose how this started, why it's wrong, and what it means for the future of Pi. Stick around, because this could change the way you look at Pi forever. Let's start with what we know for sure, the numbers. Pi's circulating supply is now at 8.19 billion coins. In the migration wallet, about 15.6 million Pi sits, waiting to be processed. Yesterday, no user migrations happened at all, which shows how uneven the flow of Pi migration can be. On the rewards side, 3.11 billion Pi has already been unlocked, with another 2.1 million Pi unlocked in just the last 24 hours. That's 2.1 million fresh coins entering open markets every single day. Now for the price. Pi is trading at 28 cents, down 65% compared to yesterday. Market cap sits at $2.3 billion, also down 65%. Daily trading volume is about $61.6 million, down 14%. What's interesting is the trading pattern. Right now, the market looks balanced, buying and selling are nearly equal. That means Pi is stabilizing in the 28 cents to 29 cents range. But while the numbers show a temporary equilibrium, the real fight is happening over Pi's narrative, and that's where the dual value debate comes in. On social media, you've probably seen people talking about dual value Pi. The idea is that mined Pi should somehow be worth more than Pi traded on exchanges. At first glance, it sounds clever. They argue you can trace the history of every coin on the blockchain, so mined Pi is special and deserves a premium. But let's be clear, this is a fantasy. Every single Pi coin that makes it onto an exchange was mined by someone at some point. Calling it bought Pi versus mined Pi doesn't change the reality. It's the same coin. There is no secret premium, and there never will be. So why do people cling to this? Because it's their way of trying to protect another myth, the global consensus value. The GCV cult started from one simple line in Pi's early FAQ. The value of Pi is whatever the community decides. That was meant to encourage pioneers to create real utility and use cases. But some people twisted it into thinking, we can just declare Pi is worth $314,159 per coin. From there, the narrative exploded. A group of pioneers started pushing GCV as the real value of Pi, ignoring what the actual markets said. And now, when the markets show Pi trading at 28 cents, they double down with the dual value myth to explain away the gap. But here's the cold truth. Markets don't care about what a small group declares. Markets run on liquidity, supply, and demand, not slogans. At first, the idea of $314,159 Pi might seem funny, maybe even motivational. But in reality, it's toxic, and here's why. Merchants get confused. If someone tries to convince a business owner to accept Pi at GCV while exchanges show 28 cents, that's not a payment system, it's chaos. No serious business can operate under that contradiction. Merchants walk away. Instead of onboarding new businesses into the ecosystem, GCV zealots scare them off. Why would a store accept Pi if they're going to get attacked by people demanding insane valuations? It undermines trust. Investors, partners, and developers look at Pi and think, if the community can't agree on reality, why build here? That slows down utility, the very thing that gives Pi real value. The core team knows this. That's why they've partnered with exchanges like L-Bank and others to circulate Pi in real markets. They're aligning Pi with real-world economics, not with pipe dreams. Here's the irony. Most people who get disillusioned with Pi eventually sell and leave. But GCV supporters? They refuse to sell unless Pi magically reaches their fantasy price. That means they stick around, pushing misinformation, creating division, and poisoning community growth. And here's the worst part. Their refusal to sell means they won't exit the ecosystem anytime soon. They'll continue spreading their ideas, making noise, and slowing down adoption. They've turned themselves into a drag on Pi's growth. Let's clear the air once and for all. There is only one true value of Pi, and that is whatever the open market determines it to be. Value in any asset, whether it's gold, Bitcoin, or Pi, is not based on imagination or wishful thinking but on what real buyers and sellers are willing to trade it for at a given moment. If Pi is being traded on exchanges at 28 cents, then that is its actual value, period. That price reflects the collective judgment of everyone in the market. Merchants, service providers, and traders will always use this exchange-based rate when deciding how to price their goods and services. No merchant will ever risk losses by honoring inflated or imaginary numbers that do not exist in the real market. It's also important to understand that mined Pi and exchange-listed Pi are the same coin. The only difference lies in ownership, whether the coin is still sitting in a pioneer's wallet waiting to be migrated, or it has already been transferred and is actively circulating on the market. The token itself doesn't magically change value depending on who holds it or where it's stored. The idea of a so-called dual-value Pi, where mined Pi is supposedly worth more than exchange Pi, is nothing more than an illusion. In reality, it is a last-ditch attempt to keep the global consensus value, GCV, myth alive. That myth was built on hype and artificial promises, not on economic fundamentals. As long as the community clings to the fantasy of multiple values, Pi will struggle to be taken seriously in the broader crypto space. The sooner the community lets go of this dual-value narrative, the faster Pi can move toward genuine adoption and real-world integration. By embracing the market-driven value, pioneers can help Pi establish credibility, attract merchants, and build an ecosystem that thrives on trust and transparency, exactly what is needed for Pi to stand tall in the competitive world of digital currencies. The solution isn't to argue with GCV cultists. The solution is to drown them out with progress. More liquidity from additional exchanges. More apps and businesses that accept Pi. More real-world utility that shows Pi is functional, not fictional. The core team is already working toward this. Every new exchange listing, every protocol upgrade, every app built in the Pi ecosystem weakens the GCV narrative. Because when Pi is being used every day for real commerce, no one will care about myths. The dual-value Pi idea is a distraction. The GCV myth is a fantasy. And together, they're holding Pi back. But the truth is simple. Pi's value comes from markets, liquidity, and adoption. Nothing else. So if you're a true pioneer, stop chasing fantasies and start supporting the real work, building apps, onboarding merchants, and making Pi useful. That's how Pi wins. So what do you think? Is Pi being held back more by low liquidity or by toxic myths like GCV? Drop your take in the comments, smash that like button if you want Pi to succeed on real terms, and don't forget to subscribe with the bell on, because the next Pi update could change everything.